guys, and welcome to another episode of The Christian Hype. I'm Larissa, your host again, and today's going to be part 2 of the Born Again series. For those of you who missed part 1, that's okay. Go ahead and click right here to get caught up. The rest of you, let's go ahead and move on into part 2. Those of you who have questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave me a comment down below in the comment section, or you can send me a message to my inbox. All right, guys, see you in a little bit. Before I could tell you guys where I'm going, I definitely have to tell you guys where I came from. Now, I want to share something with you guys. I'm going to be sharing about my personal experience on this spiritual journey that I'm on. Now, I am always in a state of growth. Some people think I have it together. I do not have it together. I'm always in a state of growth. I'm always learning. I'm always striving to become who God is creating me to be. Now, a lot of people right now are struggling with depression, anxiety, mental disorders, and things like that. And I personally feel now, because of my own experience, we struggle with those things because we do not know who we are. We do not know our identity, you know? I'll talk about myself. Growing up as a young kid, if you heard my name, you can expect one thing: trouble, okay? I mean, I was rambunctious. I was getting into everything. I mean, my parents couldn't find me. I was always not in the right place when I'm supposed to be. And I was just a kid, you know, doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, people would actually call me Trouble. And I used to get proud of it. I started getting proud with that name. I was, yep, Trouble, that's me. I started identifying myself as Trouble. And I started living up to that name. I thought, you know what? If they're going to see me as Trouble, I'm going to be Trouble, you know? I'd try to get in little fights with my siblings, you know? I'd try to get on people's nerves, you know? That's just the kind of kid I was. And there's a lot of kids that are like that. So I think it's very important for me to share, you know, where I'm coming from, because there's people that struggle with this and people who see this in their children and they don't understand. But words are so important, you know? When you're raising your children, you need to be careful of what you let other people call into their life. Okay? It's not okay for other people to call your children Trouble. It's not okay for any of that. My parents were really great to me. They're really great. They never called me those names. They called me who I was. They called me Larissa. But there's outside influences, and sometimes those influences you cannot control. But understand that words are important. And you need to understand that children, they grab onto that. And if this is something that you see in them, don't call that into their life. Do not pronounce these names upon them, because they live up to these things, and that's not who they are. But it starts from young. But anyway, let's talk about where I came from. So yeah, growing up, I always saw myself as a troublemaker, so that's what I did, you know? I caused trouble. That's who I saw myself to be. I didn't know that I was called for something greater. You know, and it's a very frustrating. I struggled with depression. I struggled with anxiety attacks. I used to have mental breakdowns. This is just where I was coming from. There would be times that I would get so overwhelmed. You know, I'd think about, man, I really want to be good. I don't want to be like this anymore. And I'd really get overwhelmed, and I'd have these nervous breakdowns. And I understand when people say, you know, they can't take it anymore. Suicide is so high, and I see why people struggle with this. They do not know who they are. And because I didn't know who I was in Christ, because I didn't know any of that, I struggled. I struggled growing up. I struggled in my early adult life. I'm still an early adult, but I consider myself that. But I struggled in my early 20s and late teens with identity. And there's a lot of people who are even older than that are still struggling with identity. It wasn't until 2009 that something happened that changed my life forever. I started to discover who I was in Christ. I realized that I was created to be something greater. I was not created to be what everybody else thought that I would be. I was not created to be trouble. I was not created to be rambunctious. I was not created to be a thorn in somebody's side. That wasn't who I was created to be. I was created for a purpose. God doesn't make any mistakes. He does not make any mistakes. And once I started to discover that, my life just started to change. Depression, forget it. anxiety attacks. I have not had any more struggles with depression. I haven't had any more nervous breakdowns ever since I had this big discovery. And this is why I create these videos. This is why I think it's so important for me to actually speak about my experience, because people think that I grew up like this because I was a pastor's daughter. Naturally, I just knew everything. That's not the case. If anything, I rebelled because I wanted to show that I was different from everybody else. But I think it's very important for us to share our stories. There's somebody somewhere that can benefit from your story. Your life is a testimony. It could save a life, and I believe that, and this is why I'm sharing this with you. Now let me go back to where this started. I was so depressed, very near suicidal. I mean, I actually contemplated stuff. Never came up with a plan, but I was definitely suicidal. And my dad took me to the Word. Okay, if you guys have a friend that, plunges you into the Word, hang on to that friend. That friend can save your life. In this case, it was my dad. He introduced it to me, the idea that we actually have a choice between what life we want to lead. I now understand that my lineage goes all the way back to Adam, and because of what he did, he predisposed me to a life of sin, so I was naturally born a sinner. But that doesn't mean that I had to live that way. Understand that God gave me a choice, and I choose life. I choose life. I now understand that I am who God says that I am. That God, He put a spirit within me that is perfect. It is something that cannot be taken from me. What I see in the mirror is not who I am. Because I identify myself by the spirit that God put within me, I know that I can no longer identify myself with what everybody else sees. I know at any moment, everything about me on the outside could change. I know my body will be affected by outside forces. I know I'm still predisposed to get sick. I know I can still get injured. Because I know there's one thing about me that can never be destroyed. That gives me a lot of comfort. That's the one thing that nobody can take away from me. I no longer get upset when people identify me as somebody that I don't even identify myself as. If somebody were to see me from my past and say, "Hey, Trouble," I won't get upset. I won't say, "Hey," because that's not who I am. You can't offend me anymore. Because of that, I'm now protected. This is now my opportunity to introduce them to who I am, the person who I identify myself with on the inside. I now treat them with love and sometimes pity, because sometimes these people that attack us and treat us terrible, they don't even know who they are. You can't get upset with them. If anything, you should feel compassion for them. They may struggle with the same things that you used to struggle with. And because I understand that, I cannot treat them. I know that they're vulnerable. They're volatile people. And I have to understand that because I was there too. It makes me approach people and approach life in a different way because they do not know who they are. And once you understand that, I'm telling you, it makes all the difference in the world. Depression, it doesn't even have room in my life. I don't have room for depression. I know that I am created for a bigger purpose. I know I'm not here for myself. I know that now. I no longer serve myself. I no longer am looking for the bad attention that I used to get, growing up. I'm no longer looking to get into something just so I can get a rise out of somebody. No, I don't identify myself with that life. And once you understand that, everything in your life will change. Everything in your life will change. Now, that's just a little bit about me. But as we go deeper into this series, I really hope that you can connect with what I'm saying and, draw on your own personal experience and where you came from and where you're going, and understand that if you are struggling with depression, if you are struggling with anxiety, mental breakdowns, schizophrenia, any of those things, you do not have to be there. We turn to medications and all these other things, but there's something so much better than all of that. And I'm a real person. I'm standing in front of you and I am a real person. I struggle with that stuff. And I am standing here today to tell you that my life has been forever changed. And if you really want to know more about this, you definitely come back and join me in part 3 of the Born Again series. We're going to talk more about this born again life. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.